Hello, once again. Here is the first of my stories that I'm going to tell you. I hope the sound is okay because I can't hear a thing here, so I hope it's okay. So I'm going to read you a story. There was a gentle breeze blowing through the Venetian blinds, and a fly buzzed frantically, searching through the dust and the cobwebs for an open window. By just tilting my head down towards the desk, I could just see the deep blue sky and the fluffy white clouds and the tip of the branches of a cherry tree. The prisoner watched a sparrow enjoying his freedom and wondered how much longer the maths teacher could talk about logarithms, and how could anyone be even slightly interested. My eyelids felt heavy as my chin hit my chest. I sat upright and tried to look attentive. The penalty for sleeping was a sharp smack on the head with the blackboard rubber. The teacher never missed. I looked at the big round clock. Borelli of Farnham had proudly put his name on the face, but surely it had stopped. The hands did not move. Perhaps Borelli had an arrangement with the school, whereby all the clocks ran slowly, and only the teachers knew the real time. Yes, that was it. I'd noticed them looking at their watches, even though they were facing the polished wood Borelli. I must do something to occupy myself, or I really will fall asleep. I have paper and a pencil. Let drawing commence. A shapely nude with long blonde hair cascading down her shoulder and back. Diana Dawes style. Good outline, hips thrusting forward, one knee slightly bent. Exaggerate the breasts. Well, that's difficult with Diana. Big lips, pouting, one eye only. Hide the other behind the hair. Long lashes mid-flutter. Just a hint of pubic hair showing above the leg. A natural blonde. Feet are difficult and not very nice. Put her in black patent leather stiletto heels. So high and thin, she could never walk very far. Let in some light to show the glossy shine. I sat back to admire my work. Not bad. Not bad at all. I must show Peter. He likes blondes with big knockers. A large blonde hand came around my arm, and a broad thumb clamped onto the edge of the paper. I felt a stinging slap on my left ear, which caused my head to hit the desk. Caught in the act. Oh my God. Stay down, and you may think you're unconscious. This is a grade 1 disaster. How could I be so stupid? What can I do? The teacher was known for his discipline, and no sane child, or indeed an insane one, would anger him or live to tell the tale. I well remember the day when the class were making loads of noise and fighting as they'd arrived before the teacher, when a lad noticed his hat and gloves on the table. The class fell silent in anticipation. Anyway, I was dragged from my seat by my right ear and hauled to the front of the class. The teacher glared at me. Cruikshank has found time to draw a disgusting picture during my lesson. A few hesitant titters rippled through the room, but were quickly silent as his searchlight glaze swept the wide rows of frightened boys. You will read page 32 and make notes while I take this miserable creature and his masterpiece to the headmaster. He spat this last phrase into my face. I could see his gold fillings and his moustache dancing over his tight mauve lips. This was really a bad day. I was marched out into the broad tiled corridor and told to stand at the foot of the stairs leading to the headmaster's office. Although it was cool and draughty, I was sweating. This must surely be a caning offence. 6 at the best. How is it that in the comics the boys always have time to put a thick book down their trousers and come out with a smug look on their faces? I turned to look down the corridor. Endless polished brown tiles with a cream border, sickly green paint on all the woodwork, and thick green paint on the walls above the tiles. I could hear the classes all involved with various subjects. Oh, how I wish I was in there with them. The school secretary came down the stairs and almost walked into me. "Stand over there until we are ready for you." She pointed to the opposite corner. Did I imagine a faint smile on her face? Or was it the grimace of a woman going to watch a hanging? I stood where I was told, which was on the blind side and behind the door as it opened. So, I stood with the empty milk crates, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. Occasionally a boy would leave a classroom on an errand, see me and ask, "What have you done?" Or, "Are you waiting for the cane?" Some small words of sympathy or encouragement, and then scurry away again to make up for lost time, their footsteps echoing down the hall. The door opened and stayed open as a tall, bearded man hurried in, quickly looked around to get his bearings, and then, seeing the bell for the office, marched to it and rang it with purpose. I was able to observe him through the glass panel in the open door without him being aware of my presence, possibly because of the reflection on his side. His hair and beard were red. I thought of Rob Roy or Little John. He wore an old brown overcoat, which was strange considering the weather. The school secretary came down the stairs, said a few words to the man, and they both disappeared up the stairs and out of my sight. Well, after what seemed hours, the secretary came down the stairs with a white envelope in her hand. She looked for me and not seeing me, called out, "Andrew!" But I came from behind the door like a frightened rabbit in the headlights. "You are to go and fetch your brother from class and go straight home. And when your mother comes home this evening, you are to give her this letter from the headmaster." Well, the white envelope looked very formal and impressive. My mother's name and address clearly typed in bold black ink. Such a contrast that words almost leapt off the stark white background. Good grief! This is really far more serious than I thought. Well, clutching my death warrant, I ran down the corridor, bobbing up and down at the classroom windows, which delighted the pupils, but caused the teachers to frown and shout at me, until I found the classroom containing my brother. I politely knocked on the door, and not waiting for a reply, I marched up to the desk with the courage of a doomed man, and, armed with my official white envelope, I demanded the release of my brother in the name of the law. Well, the headmaster, who was the sheriff hereabouts. The teacher looked puzzled and sent a boy to the office for confirmation of the strange request. I stood in front of 38 staring boys, looking inscrutable and aloof. But as time went on, I began to feel very hot and uncomfortable, and shifting from one foot to the other. Surely there couldn't be a problem. The messenger returned with a note, folded neatly, which he handed to the teacher. This was read and reread, and then at length he said, "You may both go, but do not stop on the way, and do not talk to anyone." A murmur rippled through the class as we left. This was incitement indeed. "Whatever have you done this time?" my brother yelled as he grabbed my collar, twisting it so violently that I felt the button ping. I gasped out a potted version of the drama. "You're in lots of trouble. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes when Mum comes home." The look of obvious pleasure in his eyes was plain to see. A cold shiver ran down